When I think about the border, I think about my parents. I think about them looking at the border as a sign of hope, as a sign of opportunity. This president and this administration is taking the hope out of the border. The border is beginning to represent cruelty by this administration.
He continues to address a complex global issue with offensive, simplistic, and inadequate responses. That makes the United States appear very callous and makes us appear xenophobic to our neighbors and our allies.
Our immigration system and the way that we treat migrants is horribly broken. I keep having to remind folks that just because people cross a border doesn't make them non-human, that we still need to treat people like human beings.
I believe in smart border security, but a wall will not make us safer. Our ports of entry are our first line of defense, because that's where most of the people cross, and that's where most of the drugs are smuggled into our country. So we need better technology there at the land ports of entry.
What's happening is people are coming to the ports of entry. They're coming to seek asylum, yet they're being turned away. I know firsthand. I was there several weeks ago at the Otay Mesa port of entry. I went to see Maria. Remember her? She's the famous woman who was caught in the photo when the tear gas was put out, and she's holding two of her children in her arms. Well, Maria was going to present herself for asylum. I was at the port of entry in Otay Mesa when she went. CBP officers right there at the port of entry asked her to leave. They asked her to go to another port of entry. We asked to see why that was the case. Border Patrol agents told us there they had no capacity to process Maria and her children so they could present themselves for asylum. Instead, they made us wait in the cold for hours with no food, no place to go to the bathroom, with young children. In Maria's case, we were out there for 9 hours before they took her in. They call it metering, where they're capping the number of people who can come and present themselves for asylum at a port of entry. And what's the result? It's danger. Some of those people never make it back. This is why the Remain in Mexico policy is so dangerous. Having migrants wait in Mexico, where they're being recruited by drug cartels, they're being recruited and sometimes killed, means it's dangerous there. And that is not what U.S. law provides.
Remember, it's legal for somebody to come to the border and tell a Border Patrol agent that I want to be considered for asylum. So in order to block people from doing that, the Trump administration put CBP officers basically on the border, stopping people from presenting themselves and asking for asylum. Well, because of that, a lot of these families that are desperate, they're fleeing these violent drug gangs in the Northern Triangle countries of Central America. They went around the urban areas, around Border Patrol, into these remote rural desert areas.
It's time for President Trump to end this charade. We don't need a wall. What we need is border security. And the way we get border security is enhancing these land ports of entry.
We need to make sure that they have the technology, the sensors, as well as the surveillance technology to identify people who are crossing. And that these resources are able to adapt to our constantly changing circumstances.
Since 2013, I have been able to work with Congress to fund improvements at our ports of entry that support local, regional economies, but most importantly, they enhance border security. If the president was truly concerned about our safety, he wouldn't be demanding a wall.
The other part of border security is that a fundamental piece of it is a clear and moral immigration system. We have people who want to obey our laws, who want to work to make sure that we have a robust economy and to follow the right way to do that. In order to make sure that we don't have people who instead go through a human smuggler to enter the United States undetected or to present at the border and go through an unclear and murky asylum process, we need to make sure we have clear, identified rules that we can all follow. And we can work together to do that.
When I saw Marie and her family taken in, I had that sense of hope. The hope that only I can imagine my parents had when they came to present themselves to come to this country, a country that is founded on immigrants, a country who has been welcoming with open arms the diverse perspectives and the people that we have.
We have a real humanitarian crisis at our southern border, but the wall is not the solution. The failed immigration policies put forth by this administration have only exacerbated the already existing problem.
We have to continue to stand up. We will continue to stand up. Let's push back against this administration's unwelcoming response to migrants.